Sunlight cuts across black silk sheets before Aaliyah's eyes even open. For 3 full seconds, she doesn't move. She doesn't breathe, because the ceiling above her is not her ceiling. The pillow under her head smells like cedar and gun oil, not her lavender detergent. And the arm draped loosely across her waist is heavier, darker veined, and tattooed, an arm that does not belong to her. She sits up so fast the room spins. The sheets pool at her waist. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame a skyline she doesn't recognize from this angle, and somewhere below, the city hums awake without her, indifferent to the fact that she has no idea how she got here. A voice, low and unbothered, answers before she can even scream. "If you're looking for your shoes," it says, "I burned them." Her head snaps toward the sound. He's leaning against the door frame in a half-buttoned white shirt, cream blonde hair loose out of its usual bun for once, a strand falling over one sharp eyebrow. He looks like a man who has already won an argument she hasn't started yet, arms crossed, unbothered, studying her like she's a problem he solved hours ago and is simply waiting for her to catch up. "You what?" she manages. "They had blood on them," he says, unbothered. "Yours, not mine." The words land like a slap. She looks down at herself. She's in one of his shirts, nothing else, and her memory of last night is a smear of headlights, a scream that might have been her own, and his hands, pulling her into a car that smelled like leather and danger. She presses 2 fingers to her temple, chasing the fog. There are fragments, the wet slap of her heels on pavement, a car door slamming, his voice saying her name like a command instead of a question. But the space between the sidewalk and this bed is simply gone, scraped clean. "Where am I?" she asks. "Home," he says simply. "This is not my home." A slow, infuriating smile spreads across his face. It is now. Somewhere in this sentence is a promise, and somewhere in it is a threat, and she cannot yet tell which one is louder. "You don't get to decide that," she snaps. "I already did," he says. "Ask me how I feel about it." She grabs the nearest pillow and hurls it at him. It bounces harmlessly off his shoulder. He doesn't even blink, just pushes off the doorframe, unhurried, like a man who has weathered worse than feathers and cotton thrown by an angry woman wearing his shirt. "There's coffee downstairs," he tells her, already turning to leave. "And a version of you that isn't panicking would ask what happened last night instead of what I did with her shoes." "I'm getting to the shoes," she calls after him. "The shoes are important." He almost laughs. Almost. It's gone before it fully arrives, tucked back behind the unreadable calm he wears like a second skin. But for half a second, she catches it, and something in her chest does something she refuses to name this early in the morning. Before this story goes any further, if you love slow-burn dark romance, obsessive billionaire CEOs, and forbidden love stories that hit different, hit subscribe now so you don't miss part 2. Turn on notifications. This story only gets more dangerous from here. Rewind 6 hours. She had not planned on setting foot inside his penthouse ever again. Not after the way their last conversation ended, with her calling him insufferable and him calling her reckless, both of them right. But desperation doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door down. It had started as an ordinary Tuesday, a lecture that ran long, a coffee she never got to drink, a text from an unknown number that simply read, "I know your schedule better than you do." She'd laughed it off. She'd been laughing off things like that for 2 years, ever since her ex decided that loving her meant knowing where she was at all times. By the time she left the campus library, the laughing had stopped. A car had idled outside for 40 minutes. Same car. Same plates she'd memorized without meaning to. She remembers standing outside his building in the rain. Phone cracked, one heel broken, dialing a number she'd sworn to delete the night she blocked it, then unblocked it, then blocked it again. I know I said I'd never call you again," she says into the phone, breathless, "but I need you to open the door." There's a pause on the line, so long she thinks he's hung up. She can hear her own heartbeat over the rain. "Who's chasing you?" he says, not a question, a demand. There's no scrape of a chair, no rustle of papers on his end. Wherever he is, he's already standing. "Nobody," she lies. Say his name. A beat. Behind her, headlights swing around the corner, slow, deliberate, and her whole body goes rigid. The rain suddenly feels very loud. Sincere, she says quietly, like the word costs her something. Something changes in his silence. It gets colder, sharper, like a blade being drawn without a sound. Don't move, he tells her, voice dropped into a register she's never heard from him before, not angry, not panicked, just terrifyingly, methodically calm. Don't look at the car. I'm coming down. You don't have to, she starts. I'm already in the elevator. She doesn't ask how he got there so fast. She doesn't ask why his voice sounds like a man walking toward a fight he's already decided he'll win. The lobby doors part, and there he is, no jacket, sleeves shoved up, moving through the rain like it isn't even touching him. He doesn't ask if she's okay. He doesn't waste time on comfort. He simply steps between her and the idling car, angles his body like a wall, and says one thing, quiet enough that only she can hear it. Look at me, not the car, me. 90 seconds later, she would be lifted clean off her feet, off the sidewalk, off the entire life she thought she had, and carried into a world that ran on money, muscle, and a man who did not know how to lose anything he'd already decided was his. Back in the present, she wraps the bedsheet tighter around herself like armor. He hasn't moved from the doorway. He's watching her the way a man watches weather, like he already knows the damage it's capable of, and finds it fascinating anyway. I need my phone, I need my clothes, I need to go home, she says. Your apartment isn't safe, he answers. Your phone has a tracker on it not from me, and your clothes are being replaced. Replaced with what? He nods toward the walk-in closet behind her. Through the cracked door, rows of clothing, tags still on, in her exact size, arranged by color like a boutique that only serves a clientele of one. You went shopping for me while I was unconscious, she says flatly, unimpressed. That's not romantic, that's a crime scene. For the first time, something almost like amusement flickers across his stoic face, gone as fast as it appeared. I didn't go shopping, he says. I sent a photo of you to a stylist and told her to guess. A photo of me, taken when? Does it matter? It matters a lot, actually. He doesn't answer that. He just watches her stalk to the closet, snatch a hanger off the rod, hold up the dress, and glare at it like it personally offended her, mostly because it's exactly her size, exactly her taste, and she hates how unsettling that is. Duly noted, he says, unbothered. Try not to die in my house before breakfast. Try not to burn anything else of mine before breakfast, she fires back. He turns to leave, pauses at the door, doesn't look back. There are 3 rules if you're staying here. 1, you don't leave without me or Yi-won. 2, you don't open the east wing. 3. Let me guess, she interrupts. I don't ask questions. No, 3 is, don't wear that shirt around Yi-won. He'll forget how to speak Korean. So you notice the shirt. I notice nothing, he says, the smallest crack finally showing in his composure. I'm simply protecting Yi-won's ability to function. The door shuts before she can throw a second pillow at it. She hears him laugh, actually laugh, low and short on the other side of it, and it does something infuriating to her pulse. Comic relief aside, one truth is settling into her stomach like a stone. She is not a guest in this house. She is an asset, a problem, a person he has decided, without asking her permission, to keep. And some small, traitorous part of her isn't entirely sure she wants to argue with that. Quick reminder, this is part 1 of a 3-part dark romance series, so if you're craving more billionaire obsession, jealous CEO energy, and slow burn forbidden love, subscribe and comment Team Do-Yoon or Run AALIYAH Run below. Your comments genuinely decide how intense part 2 gets. Downstairs, in a kitchen too clean to belong to anyone who actually cooks, she finds his right hand, a lean, easy-smiling man named Yi-won, brewing coffee like it's a religious ritual, precise pour timed to the second, muttering measurements to himself in Korean. You're the girlfriend, he says without looking up. I'm the hostage, she corrects. Same thing with him, he says, grinning. Does he do this a lot? Kidnap women, burn their shoes, install them in his guest room. Guest room? No, that's his room. He's sleeping on the couch tonight and pretending it's for security reasons. Her mouth falls open. Somewhere upstairs, a door closes just a little too hard, like he heard exactly that and objects to the framing. Cream, no sugar, Yi-won says, sliding a mug toward her unbothered. He told me. I didn't ask how he knew. That's not creepy at all. Welcome to the house. Nothing here is not creepy. You get used to it. She almost laughs. Almost. Then her phone, her actual phone, the one he claimed was compromised, buzzes on the counter where someone left it charging. One new message. Yi-won's grin disappears instantly, replaced by something far more alert. You can run to whoever you want, baby, the text reads. I built you. I'll tear down anyone who thinks they can keep you. The mug slips from her hand. It doesn't shatter. He catches it from across the room before it even finishes falling, like he'd been waiting for exactly this moment to prove something. He must have come down the second the phone buzzed. He has your number, he says, reading the screen over her shoulder, voice gone dangerously quiet. He's had my number for 2 years, she says. That's what an ex-boyfriend is. Not an ex, not from the way he's writing. You don't know him. I don't need to. I know men like him. I built an empire keeping men like him out of rooms they think they're owed. The words are calm. The grip on the mug is not. His knuckles have gone white around porcelain, and she realizes, with a jolt she doesn't want to name, that he is not just protecting her. He is jealous. Possessively, dangerously jealous of a man he has never even met. Yi-won, wisely, finds something urgent to do with the coffee grinder and does not look up again. Careful, she says, softer now, almost teasing, testing the wound. Almost sounds like you care. Careful yourself, he answers, setting the mug down with deliberate calm. Almost sounds like you want me to. Neither of them looks away first. The silence stretches long enough that Yi-won clears his throat, mutters something about checking the perimeter, and leaves with his coffee, abandoning them both to whatever this is turning into. By the second afternoon, the walls of the penthouse have started to feel like a very expensive cage, and she says as much loudly, until he finally relents and agrees to take her out, on the condition that Yi-won trails them at a distance, and she wears the jacket he hands her, which happens to be worth more than her entire apartment. The market is loud and bright and blessedly normal, stacked persimmons, a fishmonger shouting prices, steam curling off a street cart selling hotdog. For the first time in 2 days, she feels like a person instead of a problem being managed. You look surprised, he says, watching her inhale the smell of frying dough like it's oxygen. Did you think I only existed in boardrooms and doorways? Honestly, yes. Disappointing. I also exist in elevators. She laughs before she can stop herself, and he looks entirely too pleased about it, tucking that reaction away like a man cataloging evidence. At a produce stall, the vendor, young, friendly, clearly unbothered by the fact that the man standing 3 feet away owns half the buildings on this street, leans in a little too close while bagging her strawberries. You're American, the vendor asks, delighted. Your Korean is better than his girlfriend's usually is. I'm not his girlfriend, she says. At the exact moment the vendor's hand brushes hers passing the bag, at the exact moment a shadow falls over both of them. He has appeared at her shoulder without a sound, the way he does everything, and the vendor's smile falters slightly under whatever expression has taken over his face. She'll take the strawberries, he says, voice pleasant, terrifying. Keep the change. That's 20 times too much, she hisses at him as they walk away. He gets to keep both his hands. Consider it a discount. She stares at him. Did you seriously just threaten a strawberry vendor? I complimented his produce with unusual generosity. Everything else is your interpretation. Despite herself, she's grinning, and it takes a physical effort to stop, because giving him the satisfaction feels dangerous in a completely different way than anything sincere has ever made her feel. Then, halfway down the next row of stalls, she sees it, a car, parked wrong, engine running, a silhouette behind tinted glass that makes her stomach drop through the pavement. "Don't look," he says, already moving, already folding his hand around hers like it's the most natural thing in the world. "Walk, now." They don't run. Running draws eyes. Instead, he steers her through the market at a pace just fast enough to feel like urgency, and just slow enough to look like a couple in a hurry to make it home before the rain. His hand never leaving hers. His body angled the entire time between her and the street. By the time they reach the car, her heart is slamming against her ribs, and she isn't entirely sure how much of that is fear and how much is the warmth of his palms still pressed against hers. "Was that him?" she asks, breathless, once the doors are locked and Yi-won has pulled smoothly into traffic. "I don't know," he admits, and for once the mask slips enough to show something raw underneath it. "And I hate that I don't know." "Welcome to my life for the last 2 years," she says quietly. He doesn't answer, but his jaw sets in a way that suggests he has just made a decision he has no intention of discussing with her. The kind of decision that ends with someone very sorry they ever laid eyes on her. If you're loving the tension between them so far, you're going to want to be subscribed before part 2 drops. This is where the danger stops circling and starts closing in. Hit follow now so you don't miss it, and let me know in the comments. Was that sincere in the car or something worse? That evening, he lays it out across his glass dining table like a contract, because to him, it is one. Papers, actually printed, actually stapled, like he'd had someone draft this before she even woke up that first morning. "You stay here until sincere is handled," he says. "You don't go anywhere alone. You don't answer unknown numbers. In exchange, my company backs your visa renewal, your rent, and your legal fees." "And what do you get out of this?" she asks. "Billionaires don't do charity. What's the catch?" He leans back, studying her the way he studies hostile takeovers, like she's the only unpredictable variable in a spreadsheet full of certainties. "The catch is you have to trust me," he says, "which, historically, you're terrible at. I trust you as far as I can throw you. You threw a wine glass at my head in April. That's farther than most people get." Despite herself, she laughs, the first real laugh since she woke up in his bed with no memory of how she got there. He watches the sound like it's rare currency, something he'd pay a great deal more than a visa renewal to hear again. "Fine, say I sign this," she says. "What happens to my life, my classes, my job, my actual friends who are going to ask questions?" "Your classes continue. Yi-won drives you. Your job, I already called your manager." "You asterisk what?" "Told her you had a family emergency, which, depending on how you count him, isn't entirely a lie." She should be furious. She tells herself she's furious, but there's a warmth underneath the outrage that she doesn't have a name for yet, and it terrifies her more than Sincere's texts do. "Why do you even care what happens to me?" she asks quietly, her guard slipping. The question lands harder than she means it to. For a moment, the boardroom mask cracks, just barely, just at the edges, like a man deciding in real time how much of himself he's willing to hand over. "Because I told myself I was done watching people He starts, jaw tight, like the truth costs more than he budgeted for. He stops, doesn't finish it. His hand, resting on the contract, curls slightly at the edge of the paper, like he's holding onto something that isn't there. "Done watching people you what?" she presses. "It doesn't matter." "It clearly does. You don't get quiet like that over nothing." He stands, buttons his jacket, retreats behind the same unreadable mask he wears in every boardroom in Seoul, but not before she catches something flicker behind his eyes. Grief, maybe, or its close cousin, guilt. "Get some sleep," he says instead. "Tomorrow we deal with Sincere." He leaves her sitting alone with an unfinished sentence, an unsigned contract, and a heartbeat that refuses to slow down. If this story already has your heart racing, imagine what happens when Sincere finds out exactly where she's hiding. That's coming in part 2, so subscribe now, hit the bell, and don't miss it. And drop a comment. Do you think he's protecting her or claiming her? Near midnight, unable to sleep in a house full of rules she didn't agree to, she wanders the hallway in borrowed socks, past silent security monitors and a kitchen that still smells faintly of Yiwon's coffee. She finds herself outside a door left slightly open, not the Forbidden East wing, just a study lamp still burning like someone left it on in a hurry. She tells herself she's just looking for a book. She is lying to herself, and she knows it, and she pushes the door open anyway. On the desk, files with her name on them, her apartment address, her class schedule, notes on Sincere dated back months before tonight in his own precise handwriting. Photographs, long lens, distant, clearly taken without either subject's knowledge of Sincere outside her building, outside her lecture hall, outside a bar she'd gone to exactly once 4 months ago and never mentioned to anyone in this house. Her stomach drops. "You knew," she whispers to herself. "You knew about him before tonight." Behind her, a voice, close enough to make her jump. "I told you not to open doors in this house." She turns, sharp. "This one was already open. Explain this. Why do you have a file on my ex-boyfriend from 4 months ago?" For the first time all night, he's stoic, unreadable, always 3 steps ahead, looks like a man who has just been caught. He doesn't reach for the file. He doesn't try to close it or spin it. He just stands there, absorbing the accusation like it's a debt finally called in. "Because I've known who Sincere was since the night he put his hands on you outside that club," he says. "I've had someone watching him ever since." "You've been protecting me," she says, voice shaking, somewhere between fury and disbelief. "In secret, for months, without telling me. Would you have accepted it if I asked?" "That's not the point." "It's exactly the point. You don't let anyone protect you, so I stopped asking." "That's not protection," she says. "That's surveillance with better lighting. Call it whatever helps you sleep. I call it the reason you're alive to be angry at me right now." The room goes silent except for her own breathing. Somewhere between betrayal and being cared for in a way no one has ever cared for her, she doesn't know whether to scream at him or step closer. She steps closer. "You don't get to decide what I need," she says, low, dangerous, inches from him now. "No," he answers, not backing away, voice rough. "But I get to decide what I'm willing to lose, and I already decided it isn't you." The air between them turns electric, the kind of tension that has nothing to do with the danger outside the house and everything to do with the danger standing 3 inches from her lips. His eyes drop, just once, to her mouth, and hers do exactly the same thing, and for one suspended second, the whole house seems to hold its breath along with them. "This is a terrible idea," she breathes. "The worst," he agrees. Neither of them moves away. And that is exactly when her phone lights up on the desk behind them. An unknown number, a live video call, already connecting, the screen glowing bright enough to break whatever spell had just settled over the room. Sincere's face fills the screen before either of them can stop it. "There you are, baby," he says, smiling, calm, terrifying. "Nice house. Whose bed did you crawl into this time?" And that's where we leave part 1. He just found the file, the truth is finally out, and Sincere has already found her. Is this dark romance turning into a war? You decide, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you're first to watch part 2, where the real danger begins. Comment below, should she run or should he fight for her? See you in part 2.